Good morning, guys. How do we stay on our path to developing ourselves when things get tough? Maya Angelou reminds us today to be courageous. And we have to remember that that is a choice. In the most difficult time, in the most difficult circumstances, when people, things around us are negative and they're not serving us, we have to be the ones to make the choice. Being courageous is a choice. We have to remember that. We're going to be afraid the rest of our life to do many things. But if we lose our ability to choose courage, everything will stop. Our development, helping those around us, being the best we can be, it all stops. Unless we get back up and we get in there and we fight with courage to continue on our path, to help ourselves and each other. Have a great morning, everyone.
I recently had Tony Robbins on my main channel for the third time in an interview, and so to celebrate that, please enjoy this special video from our vault.
So what do you think was the first real breakthrough that you had as a teen that started you on your path, and how did you get there?
Gosh, there's so many. One of the first ones I think was probably just anchoring in when my mom and my dad, I had 4 different fathers. My mom was a powerful woman, so she kicked my 4th father out, whose name I carry, and he adopted me. And when he went out, she decided it wasn't his side, so she kicked me out too by chasing me out with a knife. And I wasn't worried she was going to stab me or anything, but I decided this is freedom, and I've got to find a way to make my life work. But I had no money. I had a 1960 Volkswagen I worked $40 a week as a janitor to buy and pay for. And so I had no car, I had no money, I had no anything. I went and slept in a person's laundry room, and then I decided I've got to figure out what to do, and I needed to feed my mind because I was so depressed, I was so overwhelmed. I'm missing my brother and sister and feeling just completely out of sorts. So I got on a bus and I traveled 14 miles, I remember, because I ended up running it one time. And I went to this bookstore and I bought this book called The Magic of Believing by Quadrant of Potential. It's the first real book other than maybe Think and Grow Rich or Emerson's essays. And I started on this journey of saying every single day I'm going to feed my mind. I'm not going to hope good thoughts show up. I'm going to read biographies. I'm going to find out what makes people tick. I'm going to understand what makes me tick. And I wanted to read a book a day, but I didn't do that. I took a speed reading class and I read 700 books over 7 years. And they were all personal development, human development, psychology, physiology. And then what I try to do is take anything that I learned and apply it. And then when I applied it, you know, I was 5'1" in my sophomore year in high school. I'm 6'7" now. I tell people the difference is personal growth. But sincerely, I became Mr. Solution because I wanted to help everybody. So I was this little fat guy, and I couldn't lose weight, and I lost weight. And all my buddies are like, "How'd you do that?" And I said, "Well, here's what I did." And they lost weight, and then we all got girls. And that led to, as a young kid, you know, that led to where, you know, if you had a problem, I was Mr. Solution. Especially if you're a girl, I was more motivated to help you. So the breakthrough was really understanding the power of compressing decades into days. That if someone has spent decades of their life and they compress it into a book, and you can read it in an hour or a few days, you have such an advantage. Because when you learn by your own experience, it's painful and it's slow. When you learn by other people's experience, everybody knows in the financial world, other people's money is leverage, right? Well, other people's experience is more powerful than other people's money. Because you can have the money and lose it. But if you get the experience, you can change it all. So I think that was the beginning for me. And it sent me on a lifelong path of hunger. You know, I've never lost my hunger.
Most people feed their minds with garbage, and that's why most people don't like their life. When you have a problem in your life, whether it's in your business or relationship, whatever problems come up, you have 2 options. Option 1 is you fix the problem, is you learn, is you get better, is you educate yourself, is you improve yourself to try to tackle that problem head on. You see the problem and you run directly into it. Option 2 is you run away from it. You escape. You pretend like it doesn't exist. You run away. You hope that it goes away on its own. It never will. And that's where most people live. Most people don't tackle problems head on. Most people don't accept accountability, responsibility, try to improve, try to get better, try to learn. Most people, they want to escape. They want to complain, they want to blame, they want to run away, they don't want to have to deal with that problem. And that's why most people's lives, they're not happy with it. If you're happy with your life, great, but most people aren't. Most people are not happy with where they are at, and it's because they spend most of their time escaping instead of learning and improving and fixing. Look at content, look at YouTube channels, look at movies, look at the YouTube channels that you subscribe to. Look at most of the content that gets created. It falls into two buckets. The first bucket is educational. The first bucket is how-to. The first bucket is I'm going to feed my mind with greatness. I'm going to feed my mind with a skill or a new tool set that's going to help me get to where I want to go. And the second bucket is escapism. The second bucket is comedy, is jokes, is laughter, is making fun of somebody. And what are the trending videos? Go to the top trending videos on YouTube right now. It's going to be mostly the second category. It's the escapism. It's the I want to lock away my brain and shut off the rest of the world and just pretend like I can laugh at somebody else's problems instead of dealing with my own. That's what most people do. Instead of fixing their problems, most people come back home from work and then they spend an hour or 2 or 5 binge watching comedy and jokes and entertainment so that they don't have to deal with their own problem. And now there's nothing wrong with a good comedy movie, there's nothing wrong with laughing, there's nothing wrong with entertainment, but if that's where you're spending most of your time instead of actually fixing the problems that you have and getting better and growing and learning, you're never going to get the life that you want. Period. It's why most people are looking forward to the weekend, and most people looking forward to that vacation that's coming up. You're escaping instead of running towards the problem and fixing the problems that you have and actually building a better life for yourself. You're escaping, and you can't wait for that vacation and that weekend to come. And so I encourage you to audit your own YouTube history, your own information and content. Go look at your history. Look at how many videos you're watching are education, are building you up, or making you better, and how many are just funny things that you're laughing at, pretending that the world doesn't exist and shutting out your problems. When you can fix that ratio, where you pay attention to the information that's coming in here, when you feed your mind with greatness, when you create that environment, that habit, that routine, that every day you are feeding your mind with things that make you better and help you tackle the problems that you have in your life and help you move towards the goals that you want to accomplish, when you do that on a daily basis, I promise you, things will get better. It may be tough at the beginning because you have to deal with realities, things that you don't want to deal with, problems that you don't want to take on. But every time you take on a problem and you crush it, it gives you the confidence to go do greater things and build a better life for yourself and for the people around you. And so I highly, highly, highly encourage you to make that ratio right. To feed your mind with greatness every single day on a consistent basis. And if you did that, I promise you, good things will happen. Now I've got some really special bonus clips for you, but before that, my question of the day, what is a thing that you do on a regular basis to feed your mind with greatness? Leave it down in the comments below. I want to see what you have to say. Thank you guys so much for watching. I believe in you. I hope you continue to believe in yourself, and whatever your one word is, much love. I'll see you again tomorrow morning for another shot of espresso, and enjoy the bonus clips.
I wake up every morning. Espresso, keep me going.
The road to the bag is definitely tied to your team and the company that you keep. If you are surrounding yourself with different energies that's not on the same wavelength as you, if they not praying for you, inspiring you, supporting you, or showing you a better way, hello, remove them immediately. Or you could take them to church. Pray for them, take them to church, but you can't help them get there, though. You got to take care of yourself. You know what it's called? It's like we was talking about the other day. It's like being on an airplane, and the thing come down. You got to take care of yourself first. You know what I'm saying?
Put the mask on.
Put the mask on. Really take some time and really look at who you're surrounding yourself with. Look who's to the left and to the right of you. Are they like-minded? Are they disciplined? Are they pushing you forward? It's so simple for us to solve this. A lot of the hardest problems are so easy to solve. We just have to take those steps, which are hard. And be mindful of that, because trust me, that energy is going to affect you. If you're around thugs and gangsters, you're going to be in jail. If you're around cats talking negative, you're going to be negative. If you're around some brokenness, you're going to be broke.
Preach, Puff.
If you're around some if you're around God and some money, you're on your way. You're on your way. You're on your way. I want to make some money. I can't really be successful by myself. I need other people around me, so you are as great as your team.
I mean, any life is different, and I try to just remember that, you know, it's really been the people surrounding me growing up, and my family members, but also my friends that kind of formed who I am. So I do believe a lot of that context and environment, and, you know, is part of creating who we are, not only nature. So, you know, I would want to do that with, you know, with a family one day too, if that's the case. I'm telling everybody that I know, everybody that are a few years younger, because I did have some amazing people, like I am now mid-20s, who are great support to me, and who I was able to open up to. And even though it's really scary to sometimes kind of reach out and ask for somebody just to have a little chat about anything, it's normally like, I truly yet still remember those people who just open up their arms and like, of course, let's just go out for a coffee. I'm like, come on, I went through the same thing. Yeah. And that is what you maybe have the illusion of, like, I'm the only one. And it's usually never ever the case.
You can do anything, you can be anything. And yes, obstacles will come along. But once again, we are living in a whole new world. Some people are making a living of just making videos. One of my favorite YouTubers, Jenna Marbles. Genius. Just a short video every single week, but she's creating abundance. What about Michelle Phan? Right? Makeup. She started way back in the day, but now she's created something for herself. And once again, there's always going to be obstacles. Right? This ain't Paradise Island out here. Right? You're in the jungle. In the jungle, you don't know what to expect. There's all kinds of creatures. So you got to ask yourself, am I surrounding myself with people that actually are encouraging me to follow my vision and my dream? Or am I surrounding myself with what Kanye West calls, these are the dream killers, right?
If you want to see my recent interview with Tony Robbins, check the video right there next to me. I think you'll love it. Continue to believe, and I'll see you there.
There is a regenerative revolution that's happening in medicine right now, in precision medicine. Billionaires know about it, but the average person doesn't. What pushed me over the edge recently is I had some experience.
Good afternoon, guys. Courage requires determination. It requires a desire that is so deep within you, so intense, that you know you're not stopping no matter what. And so for us to show courage each and every day as things happen to us that are not within our control and don't go our way, and yet we want to make change, we have to show courage in doing and making choices that perhaps are uncomfortable. Things that are going to scare us, things that are not going to feel good because we're not used to them, they require courage. And courage is only developed through endless, relentless energy, through determination. Choice by choice, getting back in there, even though it may not have gone your way, continuing to fight. And so determination is what's going to get you through and develop your courage so that you can feel the freedom you deserve. Have a great afternoon, everyone.
Gaslighting looks like, literally, like I said, when somebody kind of denies your reality. So you might say something like, I feel really sad that you said that to me. And they'd say something like, you have no right to say that. You have no right to feel that way. Or they'll say something, you'll have an argument with them, and they will have said something terrible to you a couple of days before, and you'll say, listen, when you said, and they'll say, I never said that. And so it's literally like they deny your reality. And when somebody says, I never said that, most normal people tend to question themselves. And so, in fact, I always say one of the ringers that you're in a relationship with a narcissist who's gaslighting you is you start feeling the need to voice record your conversations with them so you can play it back to them. I always say, once you feel like you need voice memos in a relationship, it may be time to get out.
Want to be happy? Build a life, not just a business. Hey, it's Evan Carmichael, and this channel was created to help you overcome the #1 challenge that is holding you back, a lack of belief in yourself. You watch these videos because you know you've got more inside you. You've got Michael Jordan level genius at something. So today, let's live your best belief life and learn the 10 behaviors that you should never tolerate in a relationship. Enjoy. Behavior number 2 is don't validate abuse with Brendan Burchard.
The time to quit on somebody, hands down, as harsh as it might sound, is straightforward and honest. And that's when there's any abuse. When there's abuse in a relationship, you quit. Period. You owe no loyalty to abusive people. Period. That's the time you got to get out. And that's where a lot of these questions come from. You know, there's a lot of domestic violence in the world. There's a lot of, women who are treated very, very poorly and often physically beaten up by their husbands, by their partners, their spouses, their lovers. And it's a bad, bad deal. And often these women or these folks who are being abused do not get the straightforward answer. And the straightforward answer is, if you're being abused physically, quit. Period. Leave that person, get out of that relationship, get somewhere safe, go to your parents' house if they're safe, go to a friend's house, but you need to exit not a month from now, not 3 months from now. It needs to be immediate and it needs to be swift, and it has to be with bold precision. You need to plan it and do it, and you need to do it sooner than later. And that's so hard to tell people because, we have this often misaligned thought in our head about loyalty. Well, if I leave this person, then, I'll never be loved. Or if I leave this person, it's unfair to them because they hung out with me and I'm a, piece of crap. We make up these stories to validate people's injustice to us sometimes. And at an abuse level, we can't do that. And I know your heart's in the same place as mine in hearing this, and it's difficult to do, but you have to do it. If anyone is being verbally or physically abusive with you on a consistent basis, get out. And you don't need to wait for consistency over a year or 2 or 3. You're talking about 1 or 2 times, and you gotta go. You have to remember there's 7 billion people on the planet. There's gonna be someone who's gonna treat you better. There's gonna be somebody who you can trust. There's gonna be somebody who, might not come into your life until you create the white space of getting rid of the bad folks so the good folks can come in again. And it's necessary. And I hope you just hear me. If you're in an abusive situation, please leave sooner than later. It's always going to be the better decision to leave sooner than later. Plan it out, find that place of support, and go.
Behavior number 3, get rid of toxic customers with Lisa Nichols.
Every relationship is a relay. It's like my dad's played tennis for over 40 years, and I've attempted to play with him at times. And what I realize is that relationships are like a tennis match. I hit the ball to you, you hit the ball back. And a relationship where you think it's only about one person, that's not tennis, that's racquetball, right? But a relationship is a tennis match. And so if a relationship is working, it's because of the way we both are engaging. If it's truly working. And if it's not working, it's the way we both are engaging. And so there could be passive engagement and there could be active engagement. So when you're not speaking up for what you want, when you're holding and you're living with a bunch of withholds, that's engagement. That's just the way you're engaging. So every relationship has 2 parts, whether your part is active or your part is passive. Every relationship has engagement, a level of engagement. And that engagement is on different levels. If you find that the relationships around you have toxic outcomes, then I want you to look at where's the breakdown. Is the breakdown in communication? Is the breakdown in how you communicate, the words you're using? Is the breakdown in who you choose to be around? Is the breakdown in the engagement of what you're talking about? What I've learned is that if you're not talking about things that are high enough and big enough, things that are inspiring enough, you will slip into the smallness every single time. If you don't choose an intentionally high, evolving, encouraging conversation, you will slip into the cracks. You will slip into those crevices of smallness and petty. And until you get people trained that you're going to live up here without telling them, I need you to know, it's not an announcement. It's a way of being. It's a what do you choose to participate in. It's a stepping over your desire to hear smallness, gossip, negative feedback. It's when someone is engaging in negative feedback about someone else, the fact that you didn't add anything to the conversation doesn't let you off the hook. Did you stop the conversation? Did you say, hold on, I don't want to engage in speaking negatively of them at all. Why don't you have a conversation with them? It's course correcting behaviors in your space at the risk of losing the relationship. But what you basically do is you say, here's where I play. Here's where I live. I'm not visiting this high road of integrity. I'm not visiting this high road of conscious thinking and awareness and respect and humility and honoring the dignity in people. I don't visit this place. I live here. I don't visit this place. I live here. And in a loving way, anyone that's engaging with you has two choices. They either engage with you here or they choose to engage with someone else. Now, if you find that you're going down to be in the relationship, or you're going down and you're the person taking the relationship down because you're in a moment of anger, or you're in a moment of resentment, or you're in a moment of hurt, then you're not living in your highest integrity. You just visit every now and again when you come to this channel. Uh-oh, I see my Shantae coming out right now. Shantae is my middle name. It's what I do when I start getting real edgy because I really want you to get it. So you need to make a decision on where you choose to reside. And then you don't leave your conscious neighborhood to go visit other people's neighborhood if it's not as high as yours. People will rise to the occasion, or they'll choose not to rise, and they'll pick other people to be with and hang with. And I know that sounds easier said than done, because some of the people who are playing at a lower level might be in family. It might be, and that's fine too. You can love people. It doesn't mean you have to spend tons and tons and tons of time if that time costs you something. Spend as much time as you can. Spend as much time as serves you. Spend as much time as they will allow you to spend. But never leave this place. Even if being with them causes you to allow them to be where they are, you don't have to engage in that. So the bottom line, and supporting you to either recognize, are you the toxic element, or are you surrounding yourself in toxic element, is to make a commitment where you live. Where am I living? And first, own where you're currently living. Because if you own it, you might go, you know what, I do slip into that small place. Okay, own it. That's conscious awareness. That's powerful. Own it. And then go, where do I want to be? And then what's the distance between here and there? And what do I have to do to get there? What do I have to say no to? What do I have to participate in? What do I have to ask forgiveness for? What do I have to clean up? What relationships require cleaning up? And then what declarations must I make? And what decisions must I live in? Don't make a decision, live in your decision.
Behavior number 4 is do not accept the unacceptable with Iyanla Vanzant.
You don't have to be broke. You don't have to struggle. You don't have to be sad and sorry. You don't have to take care of everybody just because you've always done it. Be willing to do a new thing and a new way. And sometimes you're going to have to piss people off in the process. Sometimes. Because people will hold you to your limitations. They will hold you to what they believe to be true about you. Spiritual code of conduct says, do not believe that because it hasn't happened, it won't happen. Renew, recharge your vision. And do not be tricked into thinking that because it's always happened, it has to continue to happen. Spiritual code of conduct says, do not accept the unacceptable. Do not accommodate and tolerate what doesn't honor you. Spiritual code of conduct says, don't let people lie to you. You know when somebody is lying to you. You just don't know how to respond. So I'm going to give you a response. This is the Iyanla response to people lying to you. You just look at them just as nice as you can. And you say, beloved, I know you think that's true. But something in here is not ringing true for me. So I'm not going to move until it feels better in my belly.
Also, to make sure you're actually taking action after watching this video, I've designed a special free worksheet just for this video. The worksheet will highlight all of the lessons learned in this video, as well as pull out our 3 favorite learnings and quotes that will inspire you to actually do something. The worksheet will also give you space to write down what your key takeaways are and your specific plan of action to make sure you're getting results. If you want the worksheet designed specifically for this video, absolutely for free, there's a link in the description below. Go click on it and start building the momentum in your life and your business. I'll see you there. Behavior number 5 is beware of contempt with Estelle Perel.
Indifference and contempt and neglect and violence are probably the 4 most important.
Okay.
I'm not talking about big violence. Microaggressions are plenty. Indifference, when you start to feel like the other person fundamentally is not really caring about you anymore, or you don't care about them. What they feel, what they think, who they are, what they're about.
You just don't care. You've lost interest.
But it's more than losing of interest. It's also when you are indifferent, you degrade the other person. They're less important to you. They don't matter. And ultimately, what we feel in relationships is that we matter. That is the essential reason for connecting to people, is that we are creatures of meaning.
Right.
I matter to you. I'm someone. You care about me. You want my well-being. You're proud of me. You want good for me. You're benevolent. All of that. When you are indifferent, the whole thing goes. And then you start to, there's that coldness that creeps in, that sense of estrangement, that complete disconnect. That. The second one is neglect. Neglect, when people just basically take each other for granted. You know, they take more care of their car than of their partner.
Or their dog.
Or their dog, anybody, anything, their yard, anything. Anything gets attendance.
Their business.
Their business for sure. Their business for sure. You know, everything gets priority, everything gets reviewed, evaluated, attended to, 360s, you name it, you know, new input. My God, it's like people have this idea that they put it all in when they were dating, and then once they seal the knot, it's like as if they tie the knot, it's like now they don't have to do squat anymore, and they go into this kind of complete sense of complacency and laziness. It's an amazing thing. They think this thing is just going to live on its own.
Right.
Act like a cactus.
Right.
Violence, the abuse, the level of disrespect. I mean, most people talk nicer to anybody else than their partner when a relationship degrades. Because you can't get away with it. Because you can't get away with it. Because if you talk like this at work, you're gone. Because if you talk like this with the police, you're gone. Because if you talk like this on the street, you're being punched. But with your partner, you have that sense that they're going to be there anyway. They're just going to take it because it's family. And family is this kind of this thing that doesn't dissolve so easily. So you can just lash out at them and talk to them with a tone and a dismissal that is phenomenal. So that kind of violence. I'm not talking physical violence and all the other big things.
You're talking about aggression or resentment or
all of that. All of that. You know,
passive aggressiveness, all those things.
All of that. And then contempt, I think, is the top one. Contempt is the killer of them all. Because in the contempt, there is there's the degradation of the other. It's that complete, you're nothing. You're nothing. I can kill you with that one gaze, that one eyebrow that goes up, you know, who do you think you are? What are, and that's it, you're done.
Behavior number 6. Don't allow invasion with Maya Angelou.
There's a place in you that you must keep inviolate. You must keep it pristine, clean, so that nobody has the right to curse you or treat you badly. Nobody, no mother, father, no wife, no husband, nobody. Because that may be the place you go to when you meet God. You have to have a place that you say, stop it, back up.
Not
you
here
must
you
not, no.
No.
Absolutely. And that's one I told you 25 years ago.
Yes.
Say no when it's no.
Yeah.
Say so. Back it up. Because that place has to remain clean and clear.
And that has to be a place within yourself.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. That is the best advice.
Behavior number 7, refuse to lose yourself with Mel Robbins.
You either address the 5 things I'm about to talk about in this video, or face the truth and end the relationship yourself because it's over. So what are the 5 signs? Sign number 1, you don't feel like yourself. In this relationship, you feel like you're walking on eggshells. You don't know how to act when you're in public or when you're around their friends. You aren't sure if you should hold hands. You're uncomfortable talking about your feelings because you don't know if they're on the same page. All of these things mean you don't feel comfortable being you. And any relationship where you have to twist yourself into somebody that you're not in order to keep the peace, it only starts a war inside of you. And those kind of relationships, they always blow up. The second sign, you're constantly questioning how you should communicate. If you're nervous about sending a text asking if they want to hang out, or do you obsess over whether they opened your Snap but they haven't responded, or how long it's been since they texted you back? Do they watch your Instagram story but not respond to your text messages? Are you compulsively checking social media to try to get the clues you need that it's okay to reach out? Any relationship where you spend more time questioning rather than talking about communication is a relationship that's broken. Sign number 3, you think about where the relationship stands all the time. So do you constantly think about questions like, where's this going? Are we exclusive? Are we committed? Can I introduce you to my family and take you to a work event? How should I introduce you? What are you thinking? What do you say about me? Not knowing where you stand means this relationship doesn't stand a chance. Sign number 4, you're starting to get annoyed. You're now the one opening snaps and not responding. You're saying you're too busy to hang out in order to send a message. You're hesitant to commit to future plans because you don't know the future of this relationship. You snap at them more than usual. All those cute little things that used to make you laugh, they're really annoying. And here's the kiss of death. If their name pops up on your phone or they walk through the door at the end of the day and you feel dread and not excitement, that's a sign that you're over this person. And the 5th and final sign, you're questioning whether or not you have the same values. If you're starting to feel like you're losing yourself, for example, maybe you're drinking more than you'd like. You're spending less time with your friends. You're skipping the gym. You're only doing things, for example, like listening to certain types of music because it interests them. This is a major problem. If there isn't a balance between the two of you, you will always feel like a less important part of the relationship because you are. Now, here's a quick test to see if you're losing yourself. Just go out alone tonight with your friends, and if it feels like a relief because you can finally act like yourself, that's a sign that this is not a relationship for you. I bet what you're doing is you're confusing chemistry for compatibility. You see, chemistry is like a match that gets lit, but eventually it burns out. Compatibility means you and your partner bring out the best in you, which is why it goes the distance.
Behavior number 8, don't consume negativity with Dave Hollis.
The first relationship that you have to think differently about is media. Media is an amazing thing. It is a pervasive thing, an omnipresent thing. It is an everywhere thing. It is great until it isn't. If you are not conscientious of what you are consuming in media, it is consuming you. If you are not on the regular doing an audit of who you follow, of what you feel from what you watch, of how often you're spending time in front of a screen, then you are not actively taking control of how you can get to where you're trying to head. If you consume negative things, you will be a negative person. If you consume positive things, you will be a positive person. I'm a news junkie. I love the news. I love to catch up on all the news stuff. And then one day, the news got crazy. I recognized that when I watched the news in the morning, I was unable to feel inspired to go change the world in the afternoon. It felt overwhelming. It felt like something that now was working in opposition of what I needed for actually pursuing my goals. So I stopped watching the news. Now here's the thing, I can still be an active participant in the social, political world by doing other things, but watching the news was not a thing that was serving me. If you aren't asking, does this thing that I watch, does this person that I follow? And by the way, if you go into your Facebook account and you're still following people from high school that trigger you, you need to let go of Shelly. Shelly isn't a part of your life anymore. It's been 20 years. Let Shelly go. It's okay to unfriend people. If following your sister or mom always throws you into a bad mood, find a way to connect with them in person and not online. You have permission to unfollow the voices that are negative in your life. It will change your life.
Behavior number 9, don't trust cheaters, with Tom Bilyeu.
What are your thoughts on cheating? Would you give your partner a second chance?
So to me, like, I believe relationships are sacred. I believe that there's literally the holy in a relationship, and that there's a level of depth and beauty to human connection that just isn't paralleled anywhere else. But I don't believe that that they need to be forever if they're not functional. And so there's certain things that I look for in a relationship. And if I wasn't getting those things, to me, there is no purpose in having that relationship. And one of those is to feel like you're somebody's number one. And I think that's probably the most intoxicating thing about a relationship. That's why marriage has lasted. And I won't even ask people to believe that that's the natural state of things. If you look, God, if we can get really weird for a minute, if you look at the shape of, just in case there are people with kids, if you look at the shape of male genitalia, the way that it has evolved does not lead one to believe that we're the most monogamous species. We're certainly not the least either, but we're not the most. And so I don't even need that to like be true, that, oh, well, we're built for monogamy. Whether we're built for monogamy or not, to me, is completely irrelevant. If you have a thing in the relationship that establishes trust, like let's say, oh, you can sleep with whoever you want, I don't care, but don't ever drink orange juice, right? If that were our thing and then you drink the orange juice, then I know there's no trust in this relationship. And that is the other thing to me. So being somebody's number one, like that's absolutely critical. I want to be somebody's number one. And then the other is I need to know that I can trust them, because the emotional attack that one feels when they're destabilized by not knowing if they can trust the other person is so uniquely horrible, and it diminishes your sense of self. And hopefully you guys understand this by now about me. Anything that diminishes my sense of self, that makes me feel less than who I am, like I don't go for that. And so if somebody were treating me without respect in a way that I couldn't trust them, that's going to diminish me. I'm going to be paranoid. I'm going to feel small, and I don't go in on that. So to me, whatever you've established as your line of trust. So for us, it's physical and we've never stated emotional abuse, but I will say that it goes without saying. Sure. So abuse, and then being, infidelity. So those are the things that we've established as lines of trust. And, if those are broken, then.
And behavior number 10, the last one before some very special bonus clips, is establish meaningful connections, with Oprah Winfrey.
You can't get what you want by focusing on what you don't want. This is about the need to establish as many meaningful connections as we can. If we're going to save the world, we have to find a way to connect to each other to connect to the nature that we're killing, to animals, to history, to an acknowledgement of the lingering trauma of racism and sexism. We need to connect to the people we love and mean something to us, and more than that, to the people who don't. That doesn't mean we always have to agree with another person's philosophy. It means we, if we're going to continue to survive and thrive on this planet, have to find ways to transcend the politics of division and embrace the places that bond us where we find our human ground.
Good evening, guys. I want to share a story with you today to help us remember how hard it is to develop courage, but how possible it is too. And one necessary thing we have to learn to take in, and that is the fact that there's going to be a lot of negativity or a lot of rejection that we have to face as we grow on our path. And I remember Les Brown, a story he shared about his high school teacher telling him to get back in there every single day when he was trying to get a job as a DJ. And I remember this one time where his former high school teacher said to Les Brown, he said, go back again. He goes, some people are so negative that they will have to say no 7 times before they say yes. And it made me laugh because just the way it was phrased, and I thought, it's so true. We got to keep going even after all the rejections. Have a good evening, everyone.
I never believed I was an entrepreneur, and I never thought I wanted to be one. Because in my heart of hearts, I'm an artist first. In my heart of hearts, I'm a content creator, I'm a thinker, I'm a visionary, I'm an artist. That's who I really identify with being. But what I realized very quickly was, if you just wanted to be that, and you were going to wait to find people to spot your talent, teach you everything about business, and make every decision for you, it was never going to happen. And I think a lot of artists are waiting to be found and discovered and managed and molded, and that their agent's going to change their life. And I'm like, that doesn't work like that.
You have to do the work yourself.
You have to do the work yourself.
Yeah.
And so...
That's very well said, by the way, for someone that actually is in the position helping people and doing that. A lot of people think they don't have to do the work, but you 100% have to do the work yourself.
Well, yeah, and I just meet so many people, and I love my manager, I love my agents, I've got a great team of people around me, but they are able to do more for me when I do more for myself.
So well said.
And I find that so many people, and me included, at one point, I was waiting. I thought, someone's going to find me, and then they're going to like change my career and change my life. And guess what? That didn't happen.
Yeah.
And I realized that I had to invent, and I had to create, and I had to push. So becoming an entrepreneur for me was learning, because I was like, I don't want to be left behind, and I don't want to be the person that doesn't reach my potential, which means I'm going to have to learn skills I never thought. Now, funny story, when I was 16 and I was hanging out in the wrong circles, I used to import jackets from China and sell them at school and all of this kind of stuff. So I was like, I had
a hustler. You were a hustler.
I had that in me, but I forgot that. And this is what happens, that when you go to school and university and family, you forget what your natural dial was. So for me, I started reading books. I started spending time with people who were successful in the area I wanted to learn.
Sure.
I went and shadowed people. I got mentored by people.
Did you intern at all?
I didn't intern afterwards, but I interned a lot when I was at college and university. But then since then, like in the last few years, I think it's mainly been picking up the phone to people, getting to know people. And this is what I've realized. If you're putting out content and people can see you, they're more likely to pick up the phone and connect. And I had this experience where I went out to someone and they didn't realize I recognized them. So I got invited on this podcast in New York. And it was an influencer from LinkedIn. And he didn't know I knew him because he found me a different way and booked me through someone else. But when he met me, I was like, dude, I know you. I see your content on LinkedIn. Right. And he was shocked that I even knew who he was. But I was like, I've seen you. I see how you tell stories. And I think you're going to grow and become an incredible LinkedIn thinker one day. Yeah. But I see it now, and I'm like, I was more likely. Whereas if that was someone I'd never heard of, I probably wouldn't have gone on.
Yeah, yeah.
And so I feel like when you're putting out content, when you're creating and sharing what your perspective is, you're more likely to attract the right energy around you, rather than when you're waiting for someone to just discover you.
Need motivation?
Watch a top 10 with Believe Nation.
Hey, it's Evan Carmichael, and I make these videos because you are probably the most ambitious person in your circle, but you know you're capable of more, and you get that push by surrounding yourself with the best. So today, let's learn from one of the best, Jay Shetty, and my take on his top 10 rules of success. Enjoy. Rule number 2, experience life.
What was the thing that made you choose to actually commit on such a deeper level?
I think it was that when I was doing the 2 lives, I got to see what life looked like at both ends.
Yeah.
So I got to see what like a cool life, working in the city, wearing a posh suit to work every day, driving a fast car, you know, having a beautiful girlfriend at the time, like all that kind of stuff. I got to see what that felt like.
Yeah.
And then I got to see what it felt like living as a monk in India. And it's so weird to say it. And this is why I believe that more people should have what I call immersive experiences. Like when you think you want to be an entrepreneur, that's different. Go and work with an entrepreneur for a week and then think if you like the process, not the result, right? Like don't look at the chains in the car and the home. Look at whether you like what time that person wakes up. Like we're in the gym every week together, right? At the same time every week.
We're committed.
We're committed. And I'm sure you're here today, we're in your space, in your studio, like you're committed. And I think because I'd done that for 4 years, actually making the decision was easy because I already knew what I was getting myself into. It's kind of like dating versus marriage. It's like if you've never dated, you don't know you want to spend the rest of your life with someone. And so I had dated for the last 4 years with both these lives. And then I was like, okay, I prefer this one. That's literally it. Now, I'm not telling you to cheat on people and date 2 people at a time. The analogy applies to this. But the point being that if you go and experience life, decision-making becomes easy. If you're trying to do it all with theory in your head of like, crap, do I become a monk or do I become a finance person? Like you'd never figure that out. But when you go live it and you're like, oh, wait a minute, I felt happier doing that. And that's what it was. I felt happier. I felt I was going to have a bigger impact on the world because we were not just meditating all day. We were building food distribution programs, charity, philanthropy programs. Like we were doing work in the world to help people. And that's where I got most activated. Like I'll tell you what, actually, this is it. This is the true answer. The reason why I decided to become a monk was I wanted to study everything about philosophy and life. And I wanted to be able to live it for real. And so I was addicted to learning about wisdom. And the second thing was, I was like, I want to use my life to have a meaning and impact in the world. And at that point in time, I'd not seen people do that through business. I'd not seen people do it through entrepreneurship and success. I'd only seen people do it in that way. And so now that's different. I believe you can have an impact through business, etc. But at that time, I'd not seen that.
Rule number 3, find your passion.
This is something I created called the Quadrant of Potential. What you'll see here is the blue section says not good at and not interested. When you do what you're not good at and you're not interested in, it feels pointless and it can lead to depression. When you do what you're not good at and you're not interested in, it can lead to depression, it can lead to anxiety, it can lead to all of those negative emotions. Now look at the yellow section of the quadrant. Not good at, but interested. There's a lot of stuff in the world that we're not good at, but we're interested in. For me, social media used to be one of those things. I was interested in social media, but I wasn't good at it. But that's something where you see potential and you feel excitement. When you're trying to learn something that you're not good at, but you're interested in, you feel a buzz. It's exciting. Look at the gray section of the quadrant. The gray section of the quadrant is good at, but don't love. That's what most of us end up doing for work. We do something that we're good at, but we don't really love it. It doesn't fulfill us. And that ends up being a profession, but it stresses us out. And finally, in the orange quadrant, you have good at and love. That's where you find passion, and that's where you experience fulfillment. What I'd love for you to do is today, tomorrow, sit down with your partner, your friend, and actually reflect on 2 to 3 things in each section of that quadrant. Do you know what you're good at and love? Do more of that. Do you know what that you're not good at but interested in? Do more of that. Spend your life in the orange and yellow side of the quadrant, and you will never, ever have to experience that pressure, that stress, anxiety in the negative sense. You'll still experience stress and pressure. I experience stress and pressure, but it's good. It motivates me, inspires me, not bringing me down. Let's move away from spending time in the good and don't loved and not good and not interested.
Rule number 4, express gratitude.
I really believe that the first thought you want to have in the day is a thought of gratitude. So when we would wake up as monks at 4 a.m. and our collective prayers and meditations would start at 4:30 a.m., the first prayer and meditation was about gratitude. And it was engineered in that way because when you are present in gratitude, you can't be anywhere else. So if you're in a state of gratitude, you can't be in a state of anxiety. If you're in a state of gratitude, you can't be in a state of worry. So many of us today wake up in a state of worry, in a state of anxiety. And so if your first thought can be a thought of gratitude, it can absolutely transform your day. And so I'm actually going to ask you a question, Melissa. I want you to name 2 friends. They can be real or imaginary, but I need 2 names.
Rachel and Amanda.
Okay, so Rachel and Amanda, disclaimer, I do not know Rachel and Amanda, so anything I say about them from now on is completely fictional. But let's take Rachel and Amanda. So let's say after all of this COVID pandemic lockdown is over, Melissa and her husband throw a party and they invite Rachel and Amanda. Now, they have a good time, and the next morning, when Melissa wakes up and looks at her phone, she sees a text message. By the way, not straight away when she wakes up. She does all her morning rituals.
I do my meditation.
When she does her meditations. And then when she looks at her phone, she sees messages from Rachel and Amanda. Rachel says, and again, Rachel, none of this is personal or about you, I promise, if you're a real person. But Rachel says, thank you, Melissa. Had a great time. Now, that's her message. And Amanda's message, when Melissa reads it, says, Melissa, that was amazing. What an incredible party. I had the best time ever. The food was incredible and the games we played were so fun. Your family and friends are all so beautiful. You know what? You made my 2020. This was amazing. Thank you so much. Now, Melissa's a grateful person, so chances are she'll feel grateful for both of those messages. But it's likely that Amanda's message is far more fulfilling to her heart because that thankfulness, for it to truly work, for it to scientifically boost your mood, thankfulness and gratitude needs to be personalized and specific. So when we say we're grateful for the air or grateful for our hands or our body or our life, if it's not specific, if it's not personalized, you don't actually feel the effect of gratitude. You also don't feel the effect of gratitude if it just lives in your journal. If it just lives in your heart and mind, it also needs to be expressed and shared with people. It needs to be an exchange of energy. And so the fact that both her friends reached out to her is great, but the one that's personalized and specific goes a step further. So remember in your own gratitude practice. And so I try to make the point every day to choose one person a day to send a voice note to, a text message, a voice note, a FaceTime call, a video message, whatever it is, one person a day. How can I express personalized, specific gratitude? Right? That's all it takes. So that's a really key habit for me.
Also, to make sure you're actually taking action after watching this video, I've designed a special free worksheet just for this video. The worksheet will highlight all of the lessons learned in this video, as well as pull out our 3 favorite learnings and quotes that will inspire you to actually do something. The worksheet will also give you space to write down what your key takeaways are and your specific plan of action to make sure you're getting results. If you want the worksheet designed specifically for this video, absolutely for free, there's a link in the description below. Go click on it and start building the momentum in your life and your business. I'll see you there. Rule number 5, build good relationships.
I was excited to come to this conversation.
Thank you.
Because I'm like, I'm going to get to learn from you. We're going to bond. We're going to, deepen our connection. Like, I'm going to make a new friend. Like, yeah. I want to be around that energy. I don't want to walk into environments where I'm constantly feeling like, oh God, why am I here?
Yeah.
And so we hear it all the time, but genuinely your relationships, Harvard's 75-year-old study suggests that human relationships is the #1 reason people are happy or not. Yeah. I went to Sardinia earlier this year, middle of last year. Sardinia's in Italy. It's a blue zone. Blue zones are the places where people live the longest in the world, and the most amount of people live over 100. The #1 reason they said that is community. Yeah. That's a big reason why people live longer and live happier lives. Yeah. So for me, it's find that human connection and community. And please don't settle for your family. Like, it doesn't have to be your family. Like, you know, there are friends and then there's family and then there are friends that become family. And my point is, go find that community. Like, so many people are like, I hear this all the time, like, Jay, my family's negative. I'm surrounded by negative environment. I'm like, yeah, but we don't live in a world where that's your only option anymore.
Yeah.
You can find tribes and communities anywhere. Yeah.
Rule number 6, practice forgiveness.
When I look at forgiveness, I define forgiveness in this way to help you. The stages of forgiveness. How many times, even in the past, did someone hurt you and you said, I'm gonna get my revenge? In that voice, in front of a mirror, and recorded it. No, that's not. Any intention that starts with revenge will lead to pain. Just understand that for a moment. Any intention that you plant based on revenge will ultimately not fulfill you. Because revenge means the same person that broke you has to fix you. And when we want revenge, we want the same person that broke us to fix us. Because we're doing revenge, which means we want to show them how we changed and how we did it and how we got it right. And when you try and do that, guess what? If that person doesn't feel you got it right, you're still carrying it. If that person doesn't feel you got the best revenge body, if that person doesn't feel you got the best revenge business, if that person doesn't feel you got the best revenge car, you won't be satisfied. Because revenge means that your metric, your reference point is still that person. The person who broke you cannot fix you. And you do not fix yourself by breaking someone else.
Rule number 7, claim your own success ticket.
What's one thing that we can do for more wealth, so more abundance in all the areas of our life?
So there's a beautiful, beautiful Sanskrit word named mudita. And mudita means to feel joy in others' success. So it's been described that we know how to feel pain when other people feel pain. That's what we call empathy or compassion. But we don't know how to feel joy when other people feel joy. And in Think Like a Monk, I talk about this because I talk about how there are an infinite number of seats in the theater of happiness. But because we live in a finite world, we've believed that there are only X number of tickets in that concert. There are only X number of seats, limited number of seats in that sports game. There are only this many people that have the opportunity to be abundant, wealthy, and successful. And as soon as you put a limit in your mind and believe that there are only a finite number of seats, you can't enjoy the show. And so mudita is the perspective of saying, if I can feel joy for someone else's success and realize that takes nothing away from me because there's infinite number of seats. And actually, forget infinite number of seats. There is a seat with your name on it. There are tickets with your name on it in the theater of happiness, sitting there waiting for you. But because you want someone else's seat so bad, because you're chasing someone else's seat so bad, and they're already sitting on it, your seat's lying there empty. And so if you just claim your seat, and so if we can experience other people's joy, if we can look to celebrate other people's successes and joys, then that will open up abundance in our life. A, because we're now part of their success. Have you ever noticed how when you celebrate someone else's success, you're a part of their success? So you're doing that. Second, you get to learn from their journey. See, when you're envious or you compare, you don't get to learn. So you've lost everything. Whereas when you celebrate someone, you get to go, oh, well, what did they do right? Notice how if you're criticizing someone who's won or you're negative towards them, you go, oh, well, I've got nothing to learn from them. It was easy from them. Who cares about them? But if you go, wait a minute, they got something right. What did they do? You can learn from them. So the first thing is you're a part of their success. The second thing is you learn from them or their journey. And the third thing is you realize that there's a seat with your name on it. And if you can do that, abundance and wealth and everything will come. And you start to follow your own path. As the Gita says, which I quote in the book, it's better to follow your own path imperfectly than to try to pursue someone else's path perfectly. And so allowing yourself to just chase that seat that has your name on it is far better than trying to get in someone else's seat.
Rule number 8, don't rush anything.
At one point, one of your videos got 365 million views, right?
Yeah, one of them, yeah.
What was that video?
That video was a video where I'm talking about not rushing people's timelines.
Okay.
So I feel like we've got, and I was just speaking to someone this week, they're like 25 years old and they feel the pressure to be a successful entrepreneur and have a multi-million-dollar business by age 30. And I'm like, why do you feel that pressure?
Yeah.
But I feel like now, like, you know, when you're 21, you've got a pressure. Why don't I have 1 million followers yet? When you're 18, you've got a pressure like, why am I not a TikTok star yet, right? It's like, there are just so much pressure. And that video was all about how like some of the most successful people in the world became successful at 40, at 50, at 60, at 70. Like there is no timeline on success.
Don't rush it.
Don't rush it. And don't let anyone rush you.
Yeah.
Because that's one of the biggest mistakes we make is we go, oh, my friend's already got this. I need to do it. And when you start living as a reflection of other people, you're not living the life you want, you're living the life they want.
No question.
So that's what the video is about.
Rule number 9, be inspired.
I think of inspiration like eating food. Every day you feel hungry and you don't panic when you get hungry. You just know you need to find food and eat. But you don't go, oh no, why do I feel hungry today? I ate so much yesterday and I ate so much last week. I shouldn't be hungry today. Like, why do I feel hungry today? That's not your panic. Your panic is, why didn't I plan for my meal, right? Like that's the panic. But you're not panicking going, oh my gosh, why am I hungry? I shouldn't be hungry. So it's really strange when we don't feel inspired or motivated, we panic. We go, oh no, why don't I feel inspired? I'm a negative person. Like I'm not motivated. Like what's wrong with me? Well, that's because we haven't fed ourselves. And so we have to find something that inspires us daily. You may say, it's a quote that you see that you write, your favorite quote, and you put it on a Post-it note next to your bed when you wake up in the morning. It may be a paragraph from a book. It may be listening to this podcast. Two of my best habits for inspiration were these two that I want to share with you, Melissa. One of them was around 7 years ago when I left monk life. Every day, I would listen to Steve Jobs' Stanford commencement speech every single day to the point where I almost knew it off by heart. And I cannot tell you how much that rewired the voice in my head and how much of that speech has inspired every step and decision I've made today. I had the fortune the other day of sitting down with Matthew McConaughey on my podcast. I was interviewing him for it. I think the episode comes out next Monday. And I was telling him that at one point in my life, in about 2014, 2015, I listened to his Oscars acceptance speech. And it's about 5 minutes. And I would listen to it every single day for 30 days. And it was so profound listening to the same thing again and again and again to rewire my mind. So inspiration can come in all ways, whether you're an auditory learner or a kinesthetic learner or a visual learner. The point is you have to feed yourself every day.
And rule number 10, the last one before some very special bonus clips, is don't gamble.
They found that 77% of those who struggle financially play the lottery, right? They play the game, they gamble. 77% of people who are struggling financially gamble. The advice is don't gamble. If you're gambling, right, and you're not winning a lot, maybe you're an online poker player, right? Maybe you're playing for entertainment, that's different, but still be careful. But maybe you're someone who's hoping that you're gonna get a quick rich scheme. A lot of these quick rich schemes online aren't real, right? And gambling is just the more obvious version of that, where it's all gamified, it feels exciting. But they found that 77% of people that are struggling financially gamble, right? So the advice was don't gamble, don't focus in on that. The challenge is that we think things come with emotions.
Feelings.
We think things come with feelings and emotions, and guess what? They don't. So if you chase money...
Well, they might for a moment, right? Or they won't?
I don't think they even do.
It's a false sense of
such
feeling.
a false sense of feeling. I don't, maybe for a moment, but it's so short-lived that it's not even worth counting almost. So it's like, when you think that I'm chasing money, guess what? You will get money.
Yep.
And that's great. Money is really important. Money is a really important resource. But guess what? Money's not now going to fill that gap, that void, that feeling, that emotion that you're missing in your life.
What are most people missing?
We're missing a deep sense of love. I think the biggest need in the world, as we've heard many times before from all the ancient texts, they summarize it like this: to love and be loved. Like that is the need of humanity, to love and be loved. And when we don't experience that, we then start looking for status. We then start looking for money. Then we then start looking for recognition.
To help us give the feeling of false sense of love.
Correct. And the challenge is because most of us didn't experience that from our parents. And this is the key thing. What we crave in life is what we did or didn't get from our parents. What our parents did give us is what we continue to crave, or what they didn't give us is what we continue to crave. So you'll find that most people's love languages that they chase are things that their parents didn't give them. So if their parents didn't give them time, they now crave everyone's time. If their parents didn't give them gifts, they crave gifts. If their parents didn't give them acts of service, they're craving those acts of service. So it's because of our childhood. And if we don't learn to process all of that experience, which most people never get the time to do, and I empathize with that because I've had to go through that. I've seen me repeating my parents' patterns.
What was the thing you were craving?
So I would crave, a big thing for me was I would crave surprises and gifts because
that's your thing.
Yeah, that's my thing.
Still is your thing.
It's still my thing.
Yeah.
And I
did your parents not do that for you?
No, they did. My mom did a lot of it.
That's why you still crave it.
Correct. So my mom would always, every year on my birthday, she'd always surprise me with the one thing I wanted. And I wasn't spoiled growing up. I didn't have a lot growing up, but she would get that one thing, whether it was like a Power Rangers toy or whether it was whatever it was, you know, something, you know.
Video game.
Yeah, thing is you want as a kid, right? And she would always surprise me with that. And that became so deep-rooted. Now, I'll give you an example. When I then married my wife, you just expect people to know that.
That they're going to do the same thing.
Totally. And so now
she didn't do that.
No, because I'm expecting my wife to be like my mom in the sense of I expect her to surprise or show me love in the same way. And she doesn't know that. She's not a mind reader. I can't expect her to know that. So it took communication. It took time for me to explain that. If you've not done something for yourself every day, if you've not taken your time to invest in yourself every day, and that isn't just a, you know, it comes so much from understanding yourself. And understanding yourself comes from the place of knowing yourself and getting to know yourself. And most of us spend so much time codependency, trying to get to know someone else and what their needs
and
are.
Anticipate their needs and then shapeshift so that I can be what I think you want.
Totally. Evolve.
My
and
20s.
Yeah, evolve and transmorph into this person that will be the best for them. But what about if you did that for yourself to start with? And so most of us don't even know what we want to eat for dinner on a given day, or like what our favorite movies are. We struggle. We sit there for like hours trying to figure out what to watch because we haven't really got to know ourselves. And so to me, getting to know yourself is very basic. After you eat a meal, ask yourself, did I enjoy that? What did I like about it? Did I feel great 24 hours after eating it? After watching a movie, what did I like about it? Why did I enjoy it? Those basic questions will give you a much deeper understanding of yourself. Pain makes us pay attention, right? Like pain makes you pay attention. I'll give an example. If you got a little cut here, you may not think anything of it. If the cut gets bigger and it starts to sting, you take it a bit more seriously. Now, if it gets infected, then you're like, okay, I need to do something about it. And often there are these signs in our life. There are always signs, signals, and reminders in our life. They are always there, but they're so quiet. And we're so loud that we don't hear them. And so then those signals have to get louder and deeper and harder to finally get our attention. Because we're not present with ourselves, the only way our body and mind get us to be present is through pain. And so the only antidote is to be proactively present with ourselves, is to actually sit with our emotions, is to actually get to know ourselves intimately and personally. Because if we're always rushing around and moving around, our body and mind don't have the time to tell us what's going on. We don't listen to our mind and body because we're too busy. And so when we finally listen to our body and mind, then we get an opportunity to address what's going on. So to me, that's why pain makes us stop and realize and forces it to happen. Tragedy transforms us because it forces us to pay attention. But we can change that by proactively being present with our mind and body. And that's how we can create that urgency without the pain and without the tragedy. Spirituality in business is an